Welcome once again. And today we have with us Yvette Jones-Swanson. She is a dedicated individual who has spent the last 20 years passionately caring for people, particularly focusing on supporting homeless veterans and those at risk in the real estate sector. Her work revolves around providing housing solutions for homeless veterans, guiding them on a transformative journey from homelessness to proud home ownership. Yvette is a fervent advocate for veterans' well-being, actively promoting initiatives and programs aimed at improving their lives and ensuring they receive the support they deserve. Welcome, Yvette Jones. It's a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you so much. And we're just going to jumping right into those questions. And my first question for you is really this. I know that you're doing so much and helping people all across America in terms of getting homes for them. But can you share with our readers and our viewers what has inspired you to dedicate your career to supporting homeless veterans and those at risk in the real estate industry?
Well, I needed that help for myself. And for the past 30 plus years, I had to navigate and advocate for myself. And it just turned out that had to be the calling that God had on my life, because that's exactly where I am. I am actively serving, excuse me, in the space that I sat in. I was in the military. I was in a domestic violence marriage that caused me to become homeless several times. I was in supportive services in a house for battered women, and I had to navigate myself to a better place. And when I learned how to do that, that's when I found a space where a lot of people needed that service. And that's what has kept me going for 20 years, because the need never ceases.
And that's really amazing, because I know that there are persons watching us who would have gone through some things, who would have had pains of the past and gone through maybe homelessness, abuse. And they're asking, how is it that God will use this bad thing, this pain, this hard place that I've been in? And here we have with us Yvette Jones-Swanson with an amazing story of how she's helping homeless veterans. Just like how she experienced homelessness, she's now turning that into a great purpose. So your organization, Yvette, it's Vet Mentors, LLC, and
Yes.
has served over 5,000 homeless veterans since 2006. So can you tell us more about the programs, the resources that you offer to the veteran community?
Yes, and the landscape of that service has changed, of course, over the years, and then with the interruption of COVID. But during all of this time in serving homeless veterans, at the beginning is when former President Barack Obama was initially elected, and his administration brought back to life a dormant bill that was a resource for homeless veterans to be housed, and that their rent would be paid for. So when that bill was reenacted, there were thousands of veterans that came out of the woodwork. And I was already in position. I was already housing homeless or at risk of being homeless, emancipated youth and seniors. And in that mix of seniors, I was housing veterans. So when that housing opportunity came about to house more veterans, I was already there. And I had with the services offered, I worked with about anywhere between 200 to 250 investors and management companies, private owners of real estate. They would give me their properties to rent for them. Well, the veterans, they came, and some of these owners wanted security deposits. They wanted first month's rent. They wanted anything, to be approved. And the veterans coming from being homeless didn't have all of that. So I had to now research and navigate more resources to help them get into these over 5,000 units.
Yeah.
And that's what I did. I was the holder of so many resources and the knowledge of navigating them. And that's how it happened over and over. And it's still happening to this very day.
Yes. So you mentioned veterans, but you also mentioned youth. I heard the word youth. So outside of those veterans, who else are you helping get homes or get somebody?
Yeah, well, when I first started in housing the homeless, there were emancipated youth, though that was my first, well, actually Social Security recipients and seniors. That population was the first. And then the emancipated youth came to me. And they just needed some place to live because now their support of being a foster child was taken away at the age of 18.
Yes.
And the social service agency still paid the rent, paid the rent on their behalf as long as they were in college, up to the age of 26, I believe. Yeah, but when that bill was reenacted by former President Barack Obama, that just blew up my business. And I felt more comfortable in that space because I came from where they were. I slept in my car many nights. I slept on people's floors, on their couches. I slept in a bathroom. I slept in the hallway of my sister's apartment building because she wouldn't let me in. So every place they told me except the park bench and an abandoned building or the U-Haul, I could relate. And that's where I found a safe place for me to have the conversations of my experiences to also validate that they're going to be okay.
And I love that they're going to be okay. And having that, that hope and someone who has been through it before.
Yes.
So I've been through it and it's going to be okay. I think it brings assurance. And of course, hope, as you mentioned. So as it's going to be okay, let's talk about the Chicagoland area and what you're going to be doing there with the Veterans Village. I know so many people are going to be able to see it's going to be okay when you have the veteran villages. So can you elaborate on the vision and how it will impact the lives of veterans?
So it depends on what the village, what the city needs, put it that way, because these will be villages within townships, within the city, and it's not just one village. Mm-hmm. So I designed several concepts of several different villages for different municipalities. So one village in particular, well, anyway, to encompass everything, the village would have all the resources that a veteran would need on a daily and a monthly basis. So in one village that I designed is a 6-story building. On the first floor is commercial space in a mall type setting. Wow. It's an indoor mall. where all the resources from the government, from the city, the county, the state, the federal government, because with the federal government, veterans would have social workers for housing, social workers for medical care, social workers for a number of reasons. And then office would be there for them to tap into. Office for employment, office, child care, hair salon, anything that we need for our day-to-day and our monthly basis. The second and third floor would be transitional housing. These would be for the veterans who are homeless or who are at risk of being homeless, because I have a 71-year-old veteran now. His family is moving out of state, leaving him here. So he's at risk, but when they move, he will be homeless if I don't house him. So he would be a good candidate for the transitional housing, which the agencies will pay for out of what's called supportive services for veteran families dollars. And that money comes from the federal government allocated to that agency to pay support of this homeless or at risk of being homeless veteran. So once they transition out of the second and third floor, they would move up to the fourth, fifth, and sixth floor in supportive housing. But not supportive housing, but project-based housing. And that's an additional funding from HUD, which the unit is paid for no matter what veteran goes in there. When the veteran leaves, now they're leaving to go buy a house within the village. That's what we do. That's the whole premise. And not just buy a house, they could buy a single family house on up to a 4-unit. Then they can become investors and business owners. And that's the same route my life took me through those ups and downs. And now I'm like, I get it. I had to go through what I went through in the military. I had to come home and be involved in that messed up marriage, to be homeless, to figure out how to fill out an application for an apartment, first of all, and then to buy my first house 3 years out of homelessness, to become an investor and a business owner.
Wow.
I had to go through that in order for me to help over 5,000 veterans come out of homelessness. And now they're renting, they're buying homes, they're investing in real estate, and they're business owners.
And what I can say is that your life is definitely an example of transformation. And then you used, or allow God to use, the transformation that took place in you, the good to the bad, and maybe the bad to the good, and help know others going through what you're going through, or what you've been through. And I always tell people, as I'm working as a marketer, when we look at your target audience, it's really almost always just like you, or just like who you were. So you're now taking that audience that's just like who you were and bringing them up to who you are today, the transformed, hopeful, faithful woman of purpose that you are. Definitely. So as we come to a close, I just want you to encourage those that are watching, because there are some individuals that are asking themselves, I've been through all this pain, and what next? What kind of God is this? Why am I going through this? Some people are looking to maybe start organizations, but there's fear. I want you to encourage those that are going to read, and of course, those that are listening to this show.
So, yeah, and I had those same questions. I remember sitting on the steps after being in a fight with my ex-husband, after going to the hospital, giving birth to a stillborn baby at 5 months. And I sat on those stairs and I asked God, why am I going through this? Why is this happening to me? But today, I just give thanks, and I'm honored that He chose me because I look back and it wasn't a long time that I stayed in those trying situations. It was long enough for me to get the lesson and get that education.
Yes.
So I just give thanks to God for choosing me for this assignment, because he didn't have to choose me. I could have, when I had COVID, I had a near-death experience. Oh, by the way, I had a heart attack, COVID-19 pneumonia, a stroke, and I couldn't walk for 6 months. And now I'm helping veterans, right? I'm helping veterans go through the cycle of healing and reversing conditions that are in the body that we were prescribed medications for. But we go through things, and the things aren't for us. The things are for the God's people, who, you know, we're called by his name to serve his people. And I just give all thanks and glory and honor to God that he chose me, because I get to testify that I came from being raped in the military, came from being homeless, came from being beaten almost every week, came from I get to testify that God brought me through that so I can bring somebody else out. Because there is light. There's light after all the trauma that we go through. We come out triumphantly.
Amen. Amen.
And I just thank God that he thought enough and trusted, put his trust. I mean, God doesn't have to trust me. I trust God. Mm-hmm. that he's given me this opportunity, and I'm not going to let him down. That's why I contacted you. I contacted so many people, because people need to know that what they're going through right now, just say thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I do.
And I just want to thank God for you. You never know how the interviews are going to go, and I have been blessed. I want to thank God, and I want to thank you. And if you're just watching, this is Yvette Jones-Swanson. She is with her company, or her organization is Vet Mentors LLC. She is dedicated to individuals who are homeless, the homeless veterans, providing housing solutions. So as we close, Yvette, you've inspired me, you've inspired those that are about to read the Divine Purpose magazine, and you've inspired those that are listening. But I want you to share with anyone who can help the organization anyway, who can invest in what you're doing. Tell us how we can get in contact with you and how we can invest in our organization.
Excellent. So my website is vetmentorsonline.com. And there's a ton of information on there. My email address is on there, and I believe there's a link to schedule an appointment to talk to me, because it has a list of questions so that I'll know where we're going in this conversation. I'm also the founder and CEO of 100 Pretty Purses for Female Veterans. And that's another organization where we celebrate female veterans once a year for Christmas, because if nobody celebrates us, we're celebrating us. Yes. So that's a not-for-profit organization, and we take donations in kind of purses and toiletries and money, which is a tax write-off. So everything I do is within the veteran community, for selfless reasons or self-full reasons, because I wanted somebody to be there for me. And now that I have this information and knowledge, I want to be there for others.
That's indeed beautiful. And Yvette, I just want to thank you for spending this short time with me. And I pray that you will continue in the strength of the Lord and with such passion to change and continue to transform. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.